Hello, welcome to Lackless Reactions. I am your Lackless Reactor, here today for episode 10 of Higurashi Sotsu. Last week we had Satoko work her magic on Orishi, and now he's manipulating the view of the townsfolk against Tepe in order to set him up as this year's victim. Let's see. Now, if that's said, there's nothing much to start out with, so I guess we'll just jump right in. Getting the clocks ready. And go. Rishi's dumping trash illegally in front of the Hojo residence. So he's manipulating both sides. The assumption was for Tepe to go off and attack someone. Instead, she's comforting her. Red cracks. Could this be another sign of my hope that hope theory, I guess. Theory's more on this theory side, but theory that Satoko is fighting against herself. Day 3, it hasn't been the time they talked to council or to Oyo yet. Okay, opening theme. So we got something interesting already with the mysterious red cracks when Tepe comforted Satoko when she expected him to get angry. So, again, that along with the flashing of the eyes a couple episodes back before Satoko's freak out, there's still a chance that Satoko is fighting against herself, partially. Because once again, some information back from the visual novels of the original Higurashi. How the jumps work is that the personalities jump from their old bodies to the new bodies of themselves in the new timeline. Which means that they have the collective memories, but they also have some part of the person who was supposed to be in that body there. So there's a very realistic chance that the Satoko who was supposed to be there, who did not experience her uncle's abuse in their timelines, but has experienced her kind uncle now, is fighting against the Satoko who just sees her as a toy, and everyone as tools just on her journey to get revenge on Rika. Right out of the dump. Especially if she keeps repeating that month. Yes, we all have to work together to make a miracle happen. Here we have a Rishi at the town meeting. Which is a good point to bring up. When Go's familiar people were pointing out that Orishi was sitting in on this meeting when he really didn't in the original visual novels. So him being here is contingent on him being L5. So Orishi is believing on the truth that the village is harassing Hojos. And just thinks that Koichi is being used as a pawn. So he thinks Koichi is innocent at the moment. But again, he's one of the two main suspects of who attacks Keiichi on the night of Watanagashi. So we have to see how that pans. So nothing but just seeing framing around Oishi intimidating intimidating them. So right now we're just seeing what happened in the Go, but without going into details and just saying how outsiders react to what's happening at the protest, since that's not our focus. But still, in the battle of her friends versus Tepe, it's important to still get these details, which I shall continue to repeat because people are still going to complain about repeat details. More cracks. Looking forward to happy family dinner. I should also mention, since I'm doing parallels with the other times we've seen this arc, this explains why Orishi is here to help drive the um, head of the whatever they're called. They're not even important this arc. The Child Welfare Center. Why he is driving the Child Welfare Center person to the Hojo residence instead of being there waiting for Tepe to get violent in order to jump in and stop it. Because he knows that nothing is happening and that he won't need to jump in. And now she's adding them to the people who are on Tepe's side or viewing Tepe's side of the story. Correct. And now she's taking control from the Child Welfare Center in order to make sure that he has an eye on the things going on in the Hojo residence. When people go L5, they do have a chance of lashing out or going off. But right now, Oishi is acting completely sane, which is the scariest kind of being insane. Now he's setting up Tepe to be bait. So now, what's your next move, Satoko? Oh yes, the phone calls to Keiichi and Rika. So what excuse is she going to give Rika about not coming home? Yes. So she's using what would have happened in the other timeline. They're actually showing the sleeping pills even though we've got that from last episode. But hey, showing the evidence. Now I'll finally be free. Yeah, that's not gonna happen, Rika. Ah, the lens flash. Very nice touch. So still have 8 minutes and we're on the last day. So the question is, how much are we getting this episode? Will this be the end of it? So will we see... Hey, Xion. So will we see Higurashi shoot up the festival today and the secret behind Tepe? Or will we still have one more episode? If we do have one more episode, what all will he fill it with? Because at this time, one of those two things have to happen this episode, and I don't think one of the other things can just drag out the entire episode. Overdose of the sleeping medicine. I don't like the way she's currently talking to him and what she's currently saying. Oh, come on. No more cracks. And Tepe's still alive. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And so the piece has a bell. And the game board is breaking down. Ah, yes, 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 yes. And now we have two Satakos fighting against each other. And some people thought that Satoko had lost her conscience. But time didn't stop. Would you like to add commentary, Ayura? Yeah. Outdated emotions. And now she has referred to herself as a witch. I'm glad to see you enjoying yourself as much as I am. Of course she knew. Mm, yeah. There was something still human in Sadako, but she went too far. And the parts that weren't human weren't gonna let her stop. Then credits and just the sound cicadas. And blood spatter. Well, if the story was that Keiichi gets hit on the back head then attacks Teppei, then she's gonna need to have Teppei killed with a bat, not a gun. And make sure that the bullet hole that's in his head is not there. But the best way to accomplish that is for him not to have a head. Which leads to the nice trick where Keiichi walks into a dark room and turns on the lights, only to be hit in the back head right away. Because the room is already pre-bloodied, so she doesn't want him to see the blood before she... I'm assuming it's going to be Orishi now, but before Orishi can strike. Actually, there's a very real possibility that she could just hit him in the back head and blame everything on outside forces. But yes, that was a great, great episode. Actually, I want to say one more thing. The fact that she was covered in blood explains why she was wearing entirely different clothes for the first time in the Go loop. Because she's not going to be wearing that outside. But yes, to talk about this episode, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. For those of you who are new to the When They Cry series, the reason I enjoy Umineko as and listed as my favorite of Ryukishi-07's works is because we get stuff like that. It's not mentions of witches or mysterious women with horns that have us cross over into Umineko territory. It's when you start punching yourself, especially when those yourselves are at that point entirely different people. So in this time they were both talking about Satoko. Well, not talking about Satoko, calling themselves Satoko. If you have experienced Umineko before, you know what I'm talking about, but no, we finally crashed into the Umineko threshold and had a scene that reminds me of Umineko at its best, so. But inside, Satoko still had regrets, she still had a conscience, she still had actual love for Rika that she was holding on to even as she was doing these terrible things, walking more and more down the path of the emotionless, manipulative witch. But in the end, the witch won out. Not sure if the original Satoko is still in there anymore, or whether that one shot ripped out the last sparks of Satoko's humanity, but I guess that's one thing we have to see for the upcoming episodes, which we still have one part of the Curse Reveling Arc for us to get Keiichi being attacked and for Oishi's rampage at the festival. And maybe more. That I can see that both those things taking an entire episode, but I can also see them taking 18 minutes and then them throwing us a few more curveballs. So I do want to say one more thing, however. Though we've only briefly saw which Satoko separate from Satoko. Though which hasn't shown much emotions. When she was beating up Satoko in the metaspace and when she was bashing in Teppei's head, she was more acting like a Terminator than the bubbly sing-songiness that comes with the Witch Lambda Delta's brand of cruelty. So she's not Lambda Delta, or at least not yet. She's a heartless Satoko at this moment. So whether we will be seeing this witch evolve into the witch we know, or whether this is a separate entity, which will continue on the constant question of whether there is any crossover between Higurashi or Umineko, or whether all resemblances are just coincidental. I guess we have to see what Ryukishi throws at us next. But either way, that's it for this episode. I am thinking more and more that after this episode, I am going to split this as a separate recap from the first two arcs, but that's something I'll have to decide later. Right now, I need to actually put this video up, so thanks you all for coming, and hope you enjoyed the show.